This is the updated Nissan Patrol, and it features a revised factory-fitted interior which looks a lot better compared to the 2024 model. And of course, being a Y62, you've got a big, powerful V8 petrol engine under the bonnet combined with a full-time four-wheel drive system. And Nissan also now offers a 10-year conditional warranty, and all this car starting from $90,000 before on-road costs. So why would anybody go out and buy a Land Cruiser? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about everything you need to know about the Y62. So before we start, please like, share, subscribe, and let's get straight into the video. Before we start, what is there to know before you walk into a Nissan showroom? Well, the Patrol is the type of vehicle that competes with the almighty Toyota Land Cruiser 300 series. And there are three different models to pick from between this, the TI, the luxury-focused TIL, and the off-road specific Patrol Warrior. Next, moving on to options, you have 5 different colours to choose from and 2 interior colours as well. And when it comes to ownership, warranty, servicing and running costs, everything you need to know is on your screen right now. And finally, a big thank you to Vale Nissan for allowing me to road test the updated Nissan Patrol. And they are located in the Southern Highlands, and I've shared their details in the description below. And if we now move on to styling, the front section gets full LED headlights with LED DRLs, LED fog lights, automatic high beam, and washers to clean the headlights from when you were going off-road. And over in the centre, a gloss black open air vent that is also complemented by this chrome trim, but it is worth pointing out that you don't get the extended chrome like you do get on the TIL, but compared to a Toyota Land Cruiser GXL, which is very similar in terms of price point, this does look like you are getting more car for your money. And finally, looking lower down, still underbody protection and a few recovery points. And if we now move on to the side view, this model variant receives 18-inch two-tone black and silver wheels that are wrapped in Bridgestone all-terrain thick profile tyres, and looking lower down, side steps that aren't really good side steps as they are tucked in a little bit too far, so it would be nice if they were extended out a little bit. But you do get chrome door handles, chrome trim along the side with a V8 badge, and finally dark tinted privacy glass from B-pillar all the way to the end. And if we take a look at the rear design, at the back you get full LED rear tail lights with sequential indicators, chrome trim in the middle with Patrol lettering, a Nissan badge in the centre, and finally, styling is subjective, so write down what you think of the current generation Y62. In my opinion, I think it is still a good looking car considering that this was unveiled back in 2010. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you now move on inside, this comes with a remote key, keyless entry and push button ignition. Now when it comes to presentation, this may not come across as the most modern looking, but what a big improvement compared to the previous 2024 model. So as you can see, they've moved the screen on the top here. The center section has also been redesigned with new air vents and buttons, and there's also a two-tone black and brown color scheme and dark timber wood grain on the top section that also extends down in the center. And when it comes to build quality, the door slam feels nice and solid. You also get thick grab handles, soft padding where you rest your elbow, and velour on this top section. Over in the center, that is also nice and soft, and even on the dashboard that all feels pretty good. But of course, it does get a bit hard when you do look lower down. But overall, this does feel pretty good for the money, especially compared to a Land Cruiser. And I want to point out that the Land Cruiser doesn't feel all that modern. It still has a crappy infotainment system. And yes, in certain areas, I don't think it's worth the price tag. Next, moving on to comfort, you get tri-zone climate control with physical buttons, leather accented seats with perforation and diamond stitching on the edges, 8-way electric adjustment for the passenger side, and 10-way electric adjustment for the driver with lumbar support. However, the steering only offers reach adjustment, not tilt, which is a bit of a shame. But if we now move on to infotainment, it all runs off a 12.3-inch touchscreen. There are also physical buttons and a swivel wheel to control this infotainment, and some shortcut buttons on the steering wheel. and using it for the first time, it is easy to navigate through different menus, and you've also got some sub-menus down the bottom here. Now when it comes to key features, you've got inbuilt satellite navigation, and that is what it looks like on the screen, and as well as voice recognition. And moving on to media functions, this TI gets a 6-speaker sound system, and there's also AM, FM, USB, Bluetooth. However, still no DAB radio, but for smartphone integration, there is wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, and that is what CarPlay looks like on the screen. And now, moving on to safety. This comes with a surround view camera system with multiple angles to choose from, but the picture quality isn't all that impressive. But you do get front and rear parking sensors and a button to switch those off from when you are going off-road, a rear cross traffic alert, an auto dimming rear vision mirror, autonomous emergency braking, blind spot monitoring on this section here, a lane departure warning with a lane keeping assistant, adaptive cruise control that keeps you within distance between yourself and the vehicle in front. And moving on to this analog gauge cluster, as you can see, there's a screen in the middle that shows you all of your vital information like fuel consumption, driving range, media functions, navigation, and for off-road driving, a specific off-road menu that shows you key information when it comes to off-road driving. Which brings me on to the controls. So there's a dial down the bottom here to swap it from 4 high to 4 low, and this also includes a hill descent control, a rear differential lock, and 4 selectable drive modes between sand, on-road, snow and rock. Finally, storage. Behind this section, a wireless phone charging pad with a 12-volt socket. There's also a USB-C and A port, 2 small cup holders over in the centre with decent centre storage that goes down pretty deep. And there's also this adjustable section here. The glove box is also pretty decent, that can fit a bottle of water. You've also got some grab handles on the A-pillars and vanity mirrors behind these sun visors, and an adjustable section over here. The door bins can also fit a bottle of water. And finally, on the top section, a sunglasses holder. Here in the back, as you can see, I've got plenty of knee room, plenty of toe room, and plenty of headroom. And you can also recline the seat backwards and forwards, but no ability to move them forwards or backwards. And over in the middle seat, again, decent knee room, toe room, and headroom, considering that you do have a raised rear seat. And moving on to key features, you can access the glove box from the back. There are also mat pockets behind the front row seats, grab handles up the top here with directional air vents, and a climate panel over in the centre. There are also USB-A ports and a 12-volt socket, decent door bin storage on the doors that can fit a bottle of water, and over in the centre, a flop down armrest with 2 very tiny cup holders. And finally, for child seats, the 2 outboard seats are ISOFIX compatible, and right behind me, there are 3 top tether points. Right, moving on to the third row. So as you can see, knee room is okay, so is toe room, and headroom is also pretty good. But as you can see, the seat has been slightly reclined, and I've also fixed this second row seat into the upright position. But you know what, for a short journey, you should be fine in the back here. There are also 2 cup holders on either side with grab handles and directional air vents, and you can also lift these headrests up and down. But it is worth pointing out, like on the Toyota Land Cruiser 300 series, you don't get any ISOFIX points or top tether points for child seats. But this of course being the TI model, you do get an 8-seat configuration, so 3 seats for the third row, whereas on the TI L and Warrior, those models come in a 7-seat configuration. Let's now talk about boot space. So the TI gets a manual operated tailgate, but if you step up to the TI L and the Warrior, both versions get an electric powered tailgate. But as you can see, compared to a Toyota Land Cruiser 300 series, you do have more space back here, and I reckon there is enough room for 2 carry-on suitcases with the third row in place. And by pulling on these 2 top levers, that'll drop down the third row seating, giving you even more capacity. And to fold down the second row seats, you go over to the back seats, pull on some levers, they'll fling forward, and that is going to give you even more space. And for all key specifications about boot volume, everything you need to know is on your screen right now. In addition to that, there's also a flat load bay, but it does sit quite high up, so it might be a bit of a struggle loading items into the boot. But there are tie-down hooks to keep items secure, shopping bag hooks and a 12-volt socket off to the left-hand side, and some underfloor storage to keep items secure. And this is also going to reveal the spare toolkit. And finally, underneath is a full-size spare tyre. And if we now move on to the powertrain, so under the bonnet features a naturally aspirated petrol V8, developing 298 kilowatts and 560 Newton meters of torque. And this is paired to a 7-speed automatic transmission and a full-time four-wheel drive system with low range and a limited slip differential at the rear. There's also hydraulic body-controlled suspension. And yes, the Nissan Patrol sits on a body-on-frame construction. Now, when it comes to towing, you get 3,500 kilograms of braked towing capacity and an unbraked towing capacity figure of 750 kilograms. And finally, for off-road driving, front and rear departure angles and everything else that you need to know, that is also on your screen right now. So, with specifications out of the way, let's go for a drive. And if we now move on to driving impressions, over the bonnet there's great forward visibility, there's also good side vision, the wing mirrors are also decent, and at the back there is good rear visibility as well. Now in terms of controls, you've got a foot operated parking brake, a traditional gear selector which is nice to see, and there's also a hydraulic steering setup, so it does feel very traditional and old from that perspective. The accelerator pedal is nice and light, and even the brake pedal is nice and smooth. And even though this is a big vehicle, it isn't overwhelming to drive. It is pretty easy. You do have a turning circle radius of 12.5 meters, which is fantastic. And of course, going around corners, you do come across a bit of body roll. In terms of refinement, it is a heavy vehicle at 2.8 tons or just under. It's also nice and quiet inside, and it soaks up the bumps really well considering that this is a ladder frame vehicle. And you do have all of the safety equipment like a 360 camera, lane keeping assistant, blind spot assist, adaptive cruise, so it's not really far off in terms of being outdated. But overall, all the driver assistance is pretty minimal when it comes to notifications, nothing alerts or annoys you, and there are no driver fatigue monitoring systems or speed sign recognition. This also uses a 7-speed gearbox, not a 10-speed like the Land Cruiser, but if you put your foot down, it reacts really well, and it shifts through the ratios really smoothly as well. And next, the powertrain. If you put your foot down, it sounds incredible. Brakes really well thanks to the front and rear disc brakes, and it does seem more than capable for towing, touring and getting up to speed. So yeah, it is a fantastic powertrain, and it does make the driving experience a lot better compared to a 300 series. And finally, fuel consumption. On your screen is what I was able to achieve combined with the official claim, and like I said, this is a car that weighs just under 2.8 tons. It is heavy, it is big, you've got a big naturally aspirated V8, so yeah, that is what you should expect to achieve. So then, what is my final verdict on the updated Nissan Patrol? Well, compared with a Land Cruiser, you do feel like you're getting much more value for the money, more space inside, and thanks to that new interior, the Patrol definitely feels much improved, and you also get that wonderful petrol V8 under the bonnet. But then again, fuel consumption could be a consideration. But on the other hand, the twin-turbo 6-cylinder isn't all that efficient on the Land Cruiser. But you let me know in the comments down below, would you go for this or the Land Cruiser? And if you've gained value from this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.